We were doing a little bit of audio work yesterday and had the master switch on for about 20 minutes.
Let's try recording here for a second here. I've got Tim Cobb here in the Kitfox. Just trying to figure out the audio.
And then this morning had the master switch on for about 10 minutes. And there's just not enough to crank her over.
What time is it?
It's time to fly is what time it is, okay? It's 8 o'clock.
What time are we supposed to leave?
We're going to leave at 7 o'clock. All right. Hey. Got our trickle charger. You know, typically the co-pilot does all this.
You should have brought a co-pilot instead of videographer.
Clear. We were going to leave at 7 o'clock, which turned into 7:15. Wipe the windows down. It turned into 7:30 when we turned the key over and the prop wouldn't turn. And then turned into 8 o'clock waiting around for the trickle charger to show up. Hope our families don't worry about us, you know. Because technically I turned the tracker on an hour ago and we haven't moved. I sent it to Janelle and Annie, so we'll see if they... This is a test, actually. We'll just see if they even track us.
They don't.
They don't track us. I don't think.
No.
Hey! Got a charge.
Kelly from the Farmland Company. Nice to be with you again. Thank you. It's good to be. Air is smooth and somewhat clear. It's not too smoky today. Yeah, not too bad. Got good visibility just coming out of Class Charlie airspace there in Spokane. It's the time of year out here where it's very dry. We're beginning of September, and it kind of looks like we're flying over the Sahara Desert out here. Yes, definitely. It is a fall nip. There's a fall nip in the air. I think a lot of people, up here in the Pacific Northwest, we've had probably the driest summer that I've experienced in my 13 years of living here. And, you know, we look down at the fields, and I think there's a lot of concern and questions about what kind of impact this had, what kind of yields were going on out there, and what the implications moving forward for farms and farmland. Most of the fall crops, these would be crops that would have been planted in the fall of 2020. Still a 2021 harvest, but they would have been planted back in the fall. Most of those crops actually made it through the winter pretty good. We didn't have hardly any winter damage. We actually had decent moisture in the winter, and so those crops were maybe off 15 to 30% on the yield, lower than average. What the big challenge was this year was many of these areas have enough rainfall to grow a spring planted crop. And that spring planted crop just did not get any rainfall over the top of it. And so it did get planted into moisture. It did come up and germinate. And so it was there, but there was just no drink of water, 2 or 3 times like we normally get in the months of March, April, and May. And into June sometimes as well. There just was not a drink of water for those crops. And so consequently, many of those crops ended up being more than 50 and 60% of normal average. And so we're not talking about a great crop, only 50% of a great crop. We're talking about 50% coming in of just an average crop. starting in March, we just had nothing. We had no moisture. We had no snow. Once that warm-up happened, how many days did we have without any rainfall whatsoever?
Some of the estimates are between 90 and 120 days without a measurable rain. Wow. Which 90 and 120 days, that is the life cycle of the wheat crop.
Now, last year, 2020 was a really good crop, right?
Record year last year on yields.
And that's because of moisture.
Yep.
Mostly
Seeding
moisture.
conditions. Over the top, we got a shower once every week, which is, if you get a shower once every week out here, you're doing just wonderful because it just gets a drink of water, gets a rest, gets some sun, needs it, gets it. All those things were happening. And so last year was just an amazing yield year and a complete 180-degree turn to the worst year in nearly 40 years. Yes, this is a bad year. This has been a bad year. But it's like a bank. You put deposits into the soil of moisture so you can withdraw them later, and we just haven't had deposits at all. And so unless we get some rain fairly soon, we're gonna find that that next year's fall seeded crop will be just as challenged.
Do we have family farms going bankrupt? Do we have people selling off equipment, selling off their children? Like what is happening now with these families? Have we put them in a 20-year debt cycle that they can never get out of? Are they just closing their doors? Is the insurance enough? We're flying over dryland wheat farms right now, and all of these guys. What's going through their heads, and how are they going to do that? What have they done to prepare for a day like a season like this?
First of all, you sell the equipment before you sell the kids because the kids are better help than the equipment. Just FYI. That's how that works, okay?
That's because they're farm kids.
That's the farm kids. That's how that is.
Kids, you sell up their organs.
So
that was a joke.
Yeah, that was a joke. Due to the fact that most of these farms enter into the federal crop insurance program, which is a participatory program, okay? These guys pay premiums. They pay insurance premiums, and they go into it, and they do that year after year after year. And so some years you'll pay a premium and you won't get any claim, right? And you'll think, it's like insurance, right? You pay your car insurance and you never get in a wreck. Is that a great thing to do? Of course it is, because the moment you do get in a wreck, the moment you do have something that takes you out, you need that insurance 100%. And
sure.
So what we found is most of these farmers obviously have crop insurance, or those that participate are going to be just fine. This year we happen to have low yields, but because of that, just good old supply and demand and dumb luck, we are currently sitting at 10-year high prices. Prices that are so high that you wish you had a bunch more grain in the bin to sell, because these prices have just gotten to a point to where a guy could really make some decent money.
If you compare things to last year versus this year, how does federal crop insurance decide how much to pay to a farmer? What are the matrix involved in setting that price?
That's a great question. You can go in and you can cover a certain percentage of your yield. So you can go in at 50% of your yield, 60% of your yield, 70% of your yield, 80% of your yield. Most of the clients that we have, we go in at 80%. You can only go up to 85%. You cannot cover 100% of your yield. But the premiums get more expensive as you go up.
Sure.
Okay?
Makes sense.
And so as the premiums get more expensive, you tend to run that math of, okay, at the beginning of the year. Now, another thing with crop insurance is you can enter into that policy only at one time for revenue insurance. Not speaking of hail and fire. One time a year. And that time is in September. Right now, we're entering into crop insurance for 2022. And so when you have a yield loss of, let's say, 40%, you're definitely going to be, and you're covered at 80%, it's going to come back in and kick in 20% of your yield loss.
So it takes into account the entire gamut. Farmer decides the coverage, how much he wants to cover, and then yield prices and market prices, all of that is all factored into that.
The crop insurance program has been designed, and I believe is very successful at putting some farmer skin in the game. For so long, there was just direct payments from the government, and farmers come under fire. Why are we supporting your business? Well, number one, we're supporting your business because it keeps food plentiful and it keeps food affordable.
Sure.
Those two reasons are a very good reason for us, the government, to support farmers. Period. And when we've got full bellies, we can go and do whatever other job needs to be done in this country. Right. Period. But we don't have to worry about raising our own food. We can go to the moon, right? We can go and do things that are important otherwise for the cause of freedom. And so, but I digress a little bit there. But that's the reason why we support, as a governed people, we support the production of food.
Just want to make sure we express our gratitude to the producers. You know, they've had a struggle throughout the year, but you know, some of the farmers I know that are some of the most optimistic people. They will plant their seeds even in dry dirt this year. They will make sure that they tend their crops and be there for the harvest next year so that we have a good supply. You know, appreciate the opportunity to be here today, Farmland Fox, and also to be with Kelly and his cameras. Always grateful for his time and the opportunity that we have to showcase agriculture across the inland Northwest. Whether it be a good year or a bad year, we'll do our best to make sure that we are continuing to tell the story, the good story, the productive story of American agriculture.
We had a successful trip down to Tim's family's farm.
Yeah.
We got some great footage of, you know, cutting the alfalfa and putting it in those big bags.
Put it in the bagger, you bet.
I even got a shot of all three of those guys cutting at the same time. Check this out. So, Tim?
Farmland Fox headed back to Spokane. We'll should have a little bit of a tailwind. That'll be nice. But we're going to vector right over Grant County International. We'll run into Class Charlie airspace at Spokane. I mean, we're big dogging it now. We're not going any much faster, but we at least state our intentions and enter the airspace. So
maybe we'll see some big planes.
Maybe we'll see some big planes.
We can shoot them, a big plane with the big camera.
With the big camera. Yeah, that's exactly right. All right.
Bon voyage. Safe
Thanks
travels.
for being with us.
Spread air traffic, Kitfox 724 Kilo Alpha. We are taking off from a hayfield. About 7 miles to the south of the field, headed out east over Grant County, freighted traffic.
Walk through life.